I am super excited to introduce you to Maureen Owiti, the Vice Chairman of Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation, and Doris Murimi, the CEO of Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you here. And one of the coolest things about my job is I get to meet amazing people every single time. Over the past weekend, we had conversations about International Women's Day. And we pointed out that it should be celebrated every single day of the year. It should not just be a hashtag. And when I see fabulous women doing great things, I'm super excited to have you on the Spice Drive. So welcome. And of course, you can follow on Twitter at Endo Sisters EA.
Yes.
Let's talk about Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation. And it's been 5 years of great work.
Yes.
Where did this all begin?
Well, it started from my pain. I always say it was my pain that actually brought out Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation.
Yes.
But basically what we are a social advocacy organization that does that conducts community awareness activities. And we do this just to support the legal and natural rights for women who are suffering from endometriosis or who are living with endometriosis and other related menstrual disorders. Yeah, so we try and seek social justice for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And I see a lot of people following you for information. How well do women understand endometriosis? How accessible is information about this and other menstrual disorders?
Okay. I think I can take that.
Yes.
I first got in contact with Doris about 2 years ago.
Yes.
When I think she was doing the Yellow Nails campaign.
Can't wait to get into that as well. She's in her yellow.
Yes.
I'm out of color. Anyway, back to your question. Unfortunately, a lot of women do not know a lot about endometriosis. And even more concerning, you find even some doctors and healthcare workers also do not have information about endometriosis. If I look at my journey with understanding endometriosis, it was mentioned in undergrad, but you really didn't get what it was. I really got to understand what endometriosis was once I did obstetrics and gynecology. And we had one of our professors who was very passionate about endometriosis, and that's when the whole journey of understanding what endometriosis is. So you find a young girl's having pain during her periods, and everyone just tells her, oh, it's okay, it'll pass when you get pregnant or when you're older and things like that. Fortunately for some women, that is true.
Yes.
But unfortunately for those who have endometriosis, it's just the beginning of a long, long journey with pain, which nobody can understand what you're going through. And the worst part is everybody feels you're pretending because they actually don't know what's wrong with you, because they think a period is something normal.
Yes.
And why should you be sick and off duty just because you're in your period? So it's poorly understood. And even for the person themselves, they don't know where to turn to for help. And I really thank Doris for trying to bring this out more in the limelight.
Yes.
Unfortunately, as clinicians, we're very quiet.
Yes. You know, the two of you coming together and to see, you having this conversation, not just on interviews like this, but also online where people can chat you up. I was going through your Twitter page and you can see women from as young girls, from 15 women up to 49 going through this and battling with it quietly. I remember when I was growing up, I had incredible pain, but we're conditioned to suck it up and it's normal. It's going to go away. Don't even talk about it. You have a lot of programs and you like to do outreach as well. It's part of your campaign. We're going to get into the other campaign that you're running. Do you find people asking less questions? They're not the ones coming to you. They're waiting for you to just pour the information because we're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to ask. When you talk especially to younger girls, is it harder to offer this information to the young girls, because under 20 they haven't even begun to understand how this is going to go? So how is it talking to younger girls?
What's really amazing is that girls just don't know the whole concept, the whole issue of menstrual disorders.
Yes.
It's, it's amazing how it's so, little is talked about menstrual disorders, because endometriosis is a menstrual disorder.
Yes.
So that whole topic, and, menstrual disorders are things like PMS, like dysmenorrhea, like menorrhagia, so those are the menstrual disorders. So everybody thinks that, periods are normal, because we just don't talk about the abnormal periods, or the ones that are not, normal. Yeah. So talking to these girls, they always, it's interesting. We just, on Saturday, we just had an event at the YMCA.
Yes.
And the girls just look at you like, what? Really? Who ever heard of this?
Who's dealing with this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so people just don't know. Girls don't know. Even women, older women, are also, most of them are also learning about it. So it's interesting that it's always a surprise. It's always something new. They ask questions, but they're always like, really?
Yes.
Really? And actually, the one feedback that I always get is, if this was really that serious, the whole menstrual disorders, the whole endometriosis, how come many more people don't talk about it? How come the health system, doesn't cater for it? How come, it's not in the health reproductive agenda?
Yes.
So that's what they always ask. And that's why we are there to make the noise.
I love how your page is. As soon as you walked in, I told you, they're communicating, they're chatting. We've got a lot of campaigns that are run, and it's usually a hashtag. After the hashtag, you never hear about these things again. When you talk about your outreach programs, you've got 4 of them. Can you break those down?
Okay. Yeah. The first one is, first of all, our target really is the youth.
Yes.
And the reason why we target the youth, adolescents, young girls, is because there is no cure for endometriosis. Yeah. So it's about mitigating it, trying to slow it down.
Yes.
So the earlier you get to the girls, the better, rather than waiting for when it's at an advanced stage,
right.
For the older woman and all that. Then at that point in time, you have the challenges of infertility and other issues, right? So one of the main programs is what we call the wellness training outreach program.
Yes.
So that's the one where we go out to schools, we target universities, colleges, young people, young girls, really, at the age between the age of 12, 12, 13, all the way through to about 24, 25. So
yes.
that's our target. So that's one. Then we also have the wellness training that we do, outreach training that we do to offices, because people need to hear about it at the workplace. And also the same people are the mothers of these girls in school.
Yeah.
So they need to, they need to understand each other.
Yeah.
So that's the second one. Then the third one is we have what we call a research project. Research that we are trying to undertake, although I'll be honest, that one hasn't properly kicked off.
Yes.
It's about, it was about trying to see the uptake of, the gynecological visits of the girls. Now, once they get the training, seeing whether many more girls have started visiting gynecologists
yes.
as a result of, what's going on, not just by us, but even other people, other players who are also talking about endometriosis.
Right.
So trying to observe that. And then last of all, there's nothing you can do without collaboration and advocacy. So that's the part where we engage in lobbying, trying to seek social justice and trying to partner with like minds
yes.
who are willing, to also advance this agenda.
Looking back when I was growing up, you wouldn't have such an interview on radio. Like, what are you talking about? Shh, hush, hush, hush tones. But to think that people can now get information by following you on social media, it has been a very helpful tool. Again, you can follow at Endo Sisters East Africa Foundation on Twitter. Let's talk about Endometriosis Awareness Month. How long has this been happening? Because this is the very first time we're also learning that there's a month dedicated to awareness for this. Is this the first?
Okay, it's not the first.
Yes.
I wouldn't say exactly how long ago
Yes.
they've made. I don't know if, Doris, you're aware how long.
No, it's been going on for quite a while.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I got actively involved last year.
Yes.
I think when, as Endo Sisters, I don't know, it was the first Yellow Nails campaign last year.
Yes.
And it was just, I really liked the concept that Doris came up with, whereby if you painted your nails yellow during that month, you got a discount on your manicure.
Nice.
Yes. And it was just to get people talking. Once an unusual color, it's vibrant. I never imagined I'd ever have yellow nails, but I think that month, because she really got me so psyched up, I did my nails yellow, and it was actually doable.
Yeah.
I'm usually very conservative.
Yes. But yellow nails for a good cause, I mean, by all means.
Yes. So it's the reason behind it is even for endometriosis, the color for endometriosis is yellow, just the way we have pink for breast cancer or red for HIV.
I see you. I see you.
So we have yellow for endometriosis.
Yes.
So it's just to create awareness. And I think it's very opportune that actually it's a month and not just a day. Like you find some, because it's something that really requires a lot of talk. And as you said, as you've rightly pointed out, that it's unusual that people will talk about anything that has to do with their menstrual or sexual health. And unfortunately, endometriosis is going to affect not just your menstrual health, but also your sexual health and your reproductive health. So it's something, it has very far-reaching implications on your health.
Wow, there's so much to unpack here because we haven't even scratched the surface. I want to know more about the Yellow Nails campaign. And of course, if there's someone listening into the show right now and it's their very first time and they want to talk about this deeper and they want to be part of it, we still got more show for you guys. So make sure you are tuned in. We're going to talk about this more. And one of the big questions, we want to debunk the myths. All right, not everyone understands the symptoms. Not everyone knows how to help someone who's dealing with endometriosis. How can I support in my little way? All right. I'm hearing about this for the very first time. And I've got 2 little girls, you know. I didn't even know there was this kind of support. All right. So I think information is power.
True.
And the best thing is you have these 2 gorgeous ladies in the studio. And we're going to be talking about it. Maureen Owiti and Doris Murimi. I can see a couple of tweets coming through already. And more about how people can be involved. It seems to be one of the big questions on the timeline. So make sure you're joining us. We've got more coming your way, including the record rumble, the trend mill topic, and I'm still hanging out with Doris and Maureen. A friend of mine is listening, and she's been going through this for a very long time. And earlier you pointed out how people say things like, oh, come on, get it together. You're probably pretending. Can you just, hang in there. And women are expected to be that and to do that. This is probably part of your mission to educate and to also make people understand what is happening. Yours is a personal journey and yours as well. Is this the reason why you're so passionate about this, about Endo Sisters Foundation? Is this the reason why you're so passionate about it? Because some people may not have experienced it firsthand, so they may not relate.
Yeah.
So going through it personally, has it influenced the way you champion for this?
Oh, most definitely for me. Yes, most definitely. The one thing about endometriosis is that, it starts early. Like in your 12, 13, it starts quite early. And it can go on until the diagnosis finally comes, maybe even 20. In my case, it was 28 years. So I couldn't imagine anybody else going through that.
Yeah.
I mean, in this day and age, the first thing I kept on asking myself is, wasn't there anybody else who was going through this to have talked about it so that, I'd have been able to see the symptoms and know and realize that this was not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does come from a very personal place.
Yes.
And a need to educate the younger ones so that they don't suffer the way, some of us suffer. They don't go through the stigma and the social issues that we went through.
Yes.
And also that they may have a better chance because, life is so hard. It's so challenging for women as it is, even trying to make it at the marketplace and all that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have a condition that makes it difficult for you to maybe go to work every day, maybe take on extra classes, do a master's after school and, things like that. And everybody thinks, oh, my goodness, this woman can't, she's really never going to take her work seriously, with that kind of attitude. So that's, so a condition that affects 1 in every 10 women, really. Yeah, it warranted that somebody makes noise about it.
Yeah. We talked about the number of women and your target. You're looking at the young girls so that you can address this when they're at a younger age. There's myths about endometriosis. We've seen people have extreme cases where they're hospitalized. We've seen people with fertility issues. And then we've seen other people who are not even sure if they have endometriosis. What are the symptoms? How can I get a sick note to say, listen, I am unable to function. I'm having spells of dizziness. I am dehydrated. My skin's breaking out. I mean, these are the things you're championing. We are nowhere near having these kind of conversations taken seriously, especially from people who do not relate or understand. What are some of the myths or also the facts about endometriosis? How can I tell that I'm suffering? It doesn't matter how old I am.
Okay, I think in terms of symptoms, I could take that.
Yes.
So, as Doris pointed out, the hallmark of endometriosis usually is pain, and it's excruciating pain during the periods. For us as doctors, the classical would be the pain will normally start a few days before the actual period starts. And then with the period, it gets even worse, and it usually gets better once your period has stopped. You've mentioned that the other sisters, so basically the hallmark is pain and pain during the periods. As the patient grows and advances in age, and especially if she doesn't get any treatment, you find that the disease is going to spread. And it's going to spread throughout her pelvis or throughout her abdomen. And because of that, you get what are called adhesions. So you find the pain will now extend even beyond the period. She mentioned that intercourse, I think I'll use the word intercourse, that even something as simple as intercourse can be excruciating. So you can imagine you're a young girl married and you can't have intercourse with your husband.
Yes.
And I think that would be a very, very, very good reason for divorce. So some people are divorced and they can't explain what went wrong. But is it something going to open up to somebody that I'm not able to be intimate with my husband? And it's something very personal and very deep that you're not really able to express. Even just going for a long call, depending on where the nodules are located, can be something that somebody may even decide they're not going to go for a long call because just the thought of doing that would cause excruciating pain to their persons. Depending on where the nodules are, I think we have one of our media personalities had this Kai.
Yes.
Yeah, she had a very extreme form of endometriosis whereby the nodules were located in the lining of her lungs.
Yes.
So what happens with atypical situations? The most common atypical location is the umbilicus. So you find that somebody during her menstruation, she's actually menstruating from the umbilicus. You can menstruate from your eye, your toe, but those, of course, are extreme. They're not common presentations. The most common presentation would be the pain, and it's just as a result of these nodules, they get exacerbated. We really don't even know what the cause of the endometriosis is, but it's something that we've seen that's common in these people, that's what happens. Other symptoms could be even pain during urination, and just things like that. But hallmark for most people would be pain, menstrual pain, typical before periods, gets worse during the periods, and usually relieved after the period.
I mean, it would be heartbreaking to think. I mean, you pointed out, you're married, you're young, probably you don't have your singers around you to talk about these things.
Especially for Kenyans.
Exactly, right? The only sexual education you ever had or anything to do with disorders or menstruation or anything in those lines was at school. And there's no one near. You've got your relationships affected. You cannot deliver at work. How can people get support after being part of such an experience? Because, okay, it's happened. Where do I start? Where do I go for counseling? Where do I go for help? This is part of your mission.
Okay. So if you look at it, the main thing would be to get help.
Yes.
And whether you like it or not, the help is medical. So it would be, the honest advice would be to go to see a gynecologist or even just a general practitioner, hoping that they'll be able to refer you to a gynecologist to be able to get the assistance that you need. There's a huge arsenal in terms of what we can do to, as she said, the word is mitigate. There are those who are very lucky. In few cases, if one of the challenging thing is getting a proper diagnosis. And unfortunately, the diagnosis is a surgical procedure whereby most people go for what we call a laparoscopy. So that's when we operate with, we don't cut you up, but we go in with special cameras into the abdomen and look for those nodules. So you find some people are lucky if caught early and the nodules are not in very crazy places. They can be excised. That is surgically cut out. Okay. So when we surgically cut out the lesions, some patients can be lucky that we can actually cure them if we're able to remove all the lesions. But you find, laparoscopy, unfortunately, is not widely available in the country. If you look at public hospitals, I believe the only public hospitals that do have laparoscopy would be Kenyatta National Hospital, Coast General, and even I'm aware that Thika had one, Thika level 5, but I just talked to the gynecologist recently, there's some component missing, so that service is no longer available there. And I think in Chuka, somewhere there's one of our young colleagues who's very enthusiastic about laparoscopy. So in terms of public settings, we're only talking about 4 hospitals. So in private, fortunately, it's more widely available in private, but who can afford for services in private? And just to give you an idea, a laparoscopy in most settings in a private hospital will be something between 250,000 Kenya shillings, 300,000 Kenya shillings. How many people can just walk in and get a surgery, let alone the thought of going through surgery? That's a very major decision. So you can imagine, I have a 14-year-old, and I don't know how old your girls are, but you can imagine that they're having this and they're 14 and we're having a conversation that for me to give you a diagnosis, I have to take your daughter for surgery. So you find it's a decision, even for the parents, it's something they're going to defer for a long time because just the thought of the child going through surgery and the possible complications of surgery, they don't want their children to undergo that. So you find the latency period between symptoms, seeing a doctor, even from the time you've seen a doctor to the time you have surgery, on average takes about 7 years because of that decision making, because we can't force somebody to get operated. And in as much as we could give medication to try to stop the pain, but we wouldn't have a definite diagnosis. And some of the medication, like we have it's called a GnRH agonist, so that I am not marketing, which comes in various forms. It's an injection that would actually make you go into menopause while you're on it. Now, would I want to give that to somebody without a sure diagnosis of what this actually is? So those are some of the challenges we have as health workers. And even for the patients, those are the challenges they're meeting. You can imagine these are the things we're thinking about, because a patient comes, you take a history, you think it is. You're obviously not going to put them under the knife. You start some painkiller, something, as you're trying to discuss and see what's happening. And so it's a long journey.
I'm listening to this and there's a lot that I did not even know. Way beyond the crippling pain and inability to function and do, your daily tasks without being looked at. Oh, it's that woman again. There she goes again. There's that. Part of your mission is also to equip women. You call them Endo warriors.
Yes.
I love that. Like, it's so empowering and beautiful. Emotionally and spiritually.
Yes.
Break that down for us.
Okay. Well, one is just having a place of solace. And so one of the things that Endo Sisters does is having a support group. So we have a WhatsApp support group where we get together, where we talk, a place where we can vent and talk about, openly what we are going through, the kind of struggles, the kind of pain and all that.
Yes.
And in terms of even the symptoms, it's not just even just the pain. There's the chronic fatigue. There's what we call the endo belly. look like you're pregnant and
Yes.
feel awful. There is diarrhea, constipation. There is, there's lower back pain, pelvic pain. It's a whole assortment of pain. And sometimes depending on even where your endometriosis is located, like if it's, in the ovaries, the endometrioma, the kind of experience that you're going through as opposed to somebody else who has it maybe in a different place. I mean, there's all that shared experience. So having a group, supporting each other, because, we discuss about, the different perspectives about how our endometriosis is affecting us.
Yeah.
A woman is able to now find somebody she can relate with. If it was within the ovaries, if it's fallopian tubes, you're able to understand, to get that kind of emotional support. We also kind of have forums where we bring in specialists, people like either gynecologists, we bring in even a counselor,
Yes.
to come in and talk to the women and just allow us to vent, because, that space, a venting space is really so important.
Yes.
So that's in terms of emotional. Spiritually, I've always said, everybody knows that there's no cure for endometriosis.
Yeah.
But, I look at the Bible, for instance, and there was the story about the woman with the issue of blood. And, it was said that when we read the Bible, we see that it was Jesus who healed her.
Yeah.
So we always kind of like anchoring on that, because it gives people hope. It gives the women hope that, listen, even if man says that there is no cure for this condition, we do know of a woman who once lived some 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. God, had this bleeding disorder and she got healed. So, by prayer and
Yes.
faith, you could also get your healing. Yeah.
And it's therapeutic. You're giving us church on a Tuesday afternoon. So as a social advocacy organization, I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd like to support, but they may not have the financial muscle or the capacity to do something like that. In my little way, I'm doing something like this. But I feel, and I'm not doing radio right now, I feel I want to be part. And I'm going to start with a yellow manicure. I'm going to change these blues. If you can see me on spicefm.co.ke, I'm going to get mine yellow. And I'm all about going beyond the hashtag.
Yes.
And I know that this is something you've been doing year in, year out. You're saying you're part of this. It's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to heal on a personal level if it started off as a personal journey and now you're involved supporting other women. How do you, the two of you, take some time off to unwind and relax? Because it also still reminds you of where you're from, and you're attached to these causes on a personal level, because you have to take off the mask and the cloak of doctor and CEO, and you have to be you. How do you separate those two things? Because we assume that if you're in that position, you have all the answers. Everyone's coming to you thinking, you're going to fix me. How can we do this? Moving forward, this is my progress. They want to keep contact with you. And I'm in my mind, and I'm thinking it's emotionally draining, don't you think? How do you separate those two things without involving yourself and being part of this kind of cause? It's a big job, right? How do you do this?
For me, and I say this even when I turn to Dr. Witty, I think I'm one of the fortunate women.
Yes.
I got into menopause, and for me, the issues of endometriosis just faded away. I don't have a problem with endometriosis anymore.
Wow.
It's a rare thing. I
Yes.
mean, not many women get into menopause and then still don't present with endometriosis. But for me, it's been like about 3 years, and I'm still, I'm doing better and better.
Yeah.
Well, not to reveal my age, but anyway.
I said, Monique, should you? I said, no. But you look amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you.
If I heard the right words correctly, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I need to join whatever you guys do. I need to know what you guys do. And
Yeah.
maybe it's part of being around others and supporting others. It's part of the healing, right?
Yeah, it's part of the healing. And also, there's the diet, there's the endo diet, there are things that we take care of ourselves. But for me, I'll just say getting into menopause, for me, that's just God's grace, honestly. I can't explain why somebody else got into menopause and they have a problem. And I am like 3 years free and no problem at all. That's where I get my energy, because I don't struggle with the chronic fatigue.
Yes.
I don't struggle with the pain. I don't struggle with being sick, but I do remember what it was like and that's what fuels me in helping somebody else. Yeah. And I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about the yellow nails.
Yes. In fact, I was just about to say, must be the yellow nails. You're all about that sunshine. And of course, it was started by, start the conversation. You're drawing attention with those nails. I mean, I can't wait to go get mine done. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. The whole issue of endometriosis, it's a mouthful. The word is a mouthful. And I must give credit to Jabi Koikai, because the time when she was diagnosed with endometriosis, people got to know what that word was when she just went, public about her condition, right?
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, we had been there. Actually, we had a Facebook page. We'd been talking about endometriosis, but doing school outreaches and all that. But really, there was little progress. So at that point, we thought we must see how we are going to translate this message differently. Now, yellow is the identifier of, it's a global color for endometriosis. And I think it reflects brightness, hope, light, all that good feeling and all that. Yeah. So we thought, why not then use yellow nails, to be the national, to be the identifier, at least for this part of town, this part of the world, the East Africa.
Yes.
Because really, when you think about the pink ribbon, it's obvious to you that that's breast awareness.
Yes.
You see the red ribbon, it's HIV.
Yes.
But then when you see yellow, the other day, I think I saw the lawyers were, they were using the yellow ribbon.
Right.
There are many social causes not related to a sickness that use yellow as a color. So to bring that distinguishing, fact, we thought of then the yellow nails, and also knowing that yellow nails is somewhere it's within the premise of where women will be, because all women, regardless, will always, we love our nails. You'll always find a woman at a salon somewhere, even if it's a nail bar or whatever, you will find a woman there. So, we found that was an easier way and a more attractive way for women to get the information, and particularly our target market, our target audience, rather, not market, target audience, the young girls.
Yes. I'm looking at your Twitter page, and that's Endo Sisters EA. And you recently had a brilliant event. I mean, I can see all the it's all the rave on your timeline, and you were at YMCA. What was this program about? What was happening when you went to YMCA?
Yeah. When we went there, it was really a youth event.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was something we had said we wanted to do something around International Women's Day. Yeah. And the theme this year was Each for Equal. Yeah. And we said, what better way to bring together men who are interested in this conversation, in understanding how to destigmatize this issue, the issue of menstruation. And also there are a lot of men who want to be part of this conversation, seeing how they can support, and also just sharing about what's going on with issues of menstrual disorders, endometriosis, being the main one that we were focusing on. And so it was just about talking about, coming together about a health issue and seeing how we could build on each other's capacities to educate each other. Yeah. So that's what we did.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I missed out on it, but from what I can see, everyone's retweeting it, and it's powerful to see that there's a lot of events that you guys are doing. When is your next outreach program? Are you having anything on your calendar this year? Any counties you plan to visit just to do more awareness and sensitize on this issue? Again, I love the way you guys are making it more than just the month of March. It's beyond this. What else should we look out for?
Well, we're doing, there's a lot of things that we're doing, but in this particular month, and I forgot to mention, I think she'll kill me if I don't mention, we had Chico Kaitani, who was the MC for that event, by the way.
Yes.
So it made it more lively, for the young people. But we are doing some other outreach events to universities. We have some universities that we'll be going to in this month. So that will be quite interesting. Then later on, even probably within this month, we're also going to go to schools, and we are going to schools in Kisumu, Eldoret. I mean, we have Kitale. So we are going to different counties. I think we've targeted 6 different schools in 6 different areas, Machakos and all that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's we're part of the Great Places to School initiative. Actually, it's a standard initiative.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are part of that. So that's
fantastic. Also to see how passionate you are. You guys have no off days, obviously. How can people get in touch with you if they want to continue this conversation, one-on-ones? You're a gynecologist. I'm looking to talk to you even after the show. There's so many questions. And even before I leave, I think one of the things that has popped up on the timeline here is, can you fix issues of infertility caused by endometriosis? Some people don't know if there's a comeback after that.
Okay. That's an excellent question. For some people, we are able to help them conceive, and it will depend on the extent of their endometriosis.
Yes.
So if you have somebody who has mild endometriosis, they may not need very elaborate means of conception.
Yes.
But if you have somebody who has deep infiltrating endometriosis, they may require surgery and most probably IVF. That's the in vitro fertilization.
Yes.
Definitely they need a fertility specialist, of which I am one.
Yes.
And so that would be that. The challenge with any fertility treatment is that some people will be successful. Some people may not necessarily be successful. But what the encouragement I tell people is that if you ever want to win a race, you must be in it. So,
church. You must be in it. I feel like I'm missing out, I feel like I'm missing out on something so great. And to see how you're also growing from Kenya, you're going beyond the borders to speak to more African women. There's women who feel like, it's in our DNA. We're African women, so we have to bear this pain. I've heard people say things like that. African women, this is our deal. This is what we get. These are our cards, so we have to just keep it pushing. However, it's good that you guys are here just to educate us and to give us first-hand information on what endometriosis is all about. I see a couple of gentlemen on the timeline also in class with their notepads. Shout out to Charles on the timeline. I can also see Fidel, and I can also see another one here says, nice conversation, great conversation. How can we get in touch with you? Yes, we've got Dr. Marino Witi and the CEO, Doris Murimi. How can people get in touch with you after listening to your interview?
Yeah. Well, they can contact us on our Facebook pages, Instagram pages, on Twitter, and just the ones who would want to participate, through the Yellow Nails movement. First of all, particularly to the women. Actually, it's both. But let's say to the women, we are telling them, please paint your nails yellow. We are asking them, the ask is, to paint your nails yellow, take a picture and just post it and say something about endometriosis, because this is the only way we are going to help create awareness. Just that little, just that little thing. The men, for example, now in their case, they can just also do the same thing and just, not the nail polish.
Just get a pedicure.
Maybe
so
wear
that
yellow
doesn't
tie.
stare at you at the office.
Yeah.
They could wear a yellow tie.
They could wear a yellow tie.
Wear yellow tie.
Or tag 10 friends and just say, hey guys, have you heard about endometriosis? Have you talked to your ladies about this condition? That's it. And we get the conversation going.
Yes.
So that's what it's all about.
Oh, I love this. And of course, there's so much more you're doing. Your calendar is filled up. And of course, a lot of people can get in touch with you on social media. As I said earlier, you can find these pages. We're going to be tagging you as well on Spice FM KE. You guys love great music, and I got to meet you after International Women's Day, but the celebration continues. We're doing this throughout the entire year. Who's your favorite female artist?
Wow. I know. That's a hard one. But I'd still go for Whitney.
Whitney,
Yes.
What about you?
Yeah, we're old school. So it's Toni Braxton, Whitney, that whole,
That's
That's
right up our alley. So I'm going to make sure I drop you a really nice song here. I've got some Toni Braxton. And of course, she also recently shared Modhoni, the Drama Queen's brand new video. And everyone is just talking about how it doesn't even matter which part of the world you're in. If it's something that you're not part of, if the buzz is going around on social media, whatever it is, just jump on it. Get on that hashtag. There was another hashtag for the Yellow Nails initiative. What's the hashtag?
Yeah, hashtag Yellow Nails Nails Movement.
Yellow
Yeah,
Nails Movement.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, more music on the way, plus the record rumble and your traffic. But I've got Tony Braxton coming up in just a bit. I've got so many Tony Braxtons here, but I'm going to play The Heat. It's a good one. It is now 27 minutes past 4. And I've also got the record rumble where we take an original song and a remake, and you get to vote who did it better. Oh, I'm telling you. They say it's a man's world, but I think not. Shout out to Maureen and Doris Murimi in the studio. It was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you.